ओके
So,
तो मैं इंट्रोड्यूस करने से पहले आप ये सवाल पूछो। हाँ पूछो आप।
good evening, everybody. So, ये जो सवाल है, what's the connection between Shahrukh Khan and the Indian cricket team of 1993? And again, the same similar connection between Shahrukh Khan and the Indian cricket team in 2023, 30 years apart.
नो क्लू
Something to do with his character. His name in the movie Bazigar was Ajay Sharma, and that was the year Ajay Sharma played his last match, and he played for India, if you remember. Okay.
आई रिमेंबर अजय शर्मा
And
लेफ्ट
I was
आर्म
just
स्पिनर
no, I left arm spinner and batsman. He was a good batsman,
Yeah.
and he played against the 3 1 days against. I think he played a few 1 days against Zimbabwe. I think
Yeah.
one days against England, and then again he went to Sri Lanka and played a few 1 days same
Yeah.
year. And in 2023, his role character is Vikram Rathore, and Vikram Rathore is the batting coach. So it was a extremely PJ connection, but it just struck me. I was watching the movie Jawan on OTT. So
बोलो नाइस
let's start.
चलो चलो बढ़िया है। तो आइए बिल्कुल मतलब इसी पीजे के साथ स्टार्ट करते हैं। खाना पीना ब्रीदिंग ड्रिंकिंग सब मतलब दारू वारू सब मिला के जो भी क्रिकेट के बारे में बात करते हैं। चलो भाई फाइनली 45 गेम्स खत्म हो गया। सर के बाल नोच लिए सब कर लिया हमने और इंडिया को सेमीफाइनल पहुंचा दिया हमने। ठीक है। और साथ में और 3 बागड़ बिल्लों को भी पहुंचा दिया हमने और कुछ बाकी 6 टीम्स का दिल टूट गया। अब ये तो बात करेंगे कि किसका दिल सबसे ज्यादा टूटा है करके। पर अभी मेरी अमित से भी बात हो रही थी, उनसे एक पॉडकास्ट पे बात हो रहा था तो आई जनरली बंच्ड अप। सो आई टेल यू व्हाट आई वांट टू डिस्कस। आई वांट टू डिस्कस द 6 टीम्स की एंड विल कीप इट वेरी सिंपल राइट कि हु इज द बिगेस्ट विनर एंड हु इज द बिगेस्ट लूजर उन 6 में। एंड देन इंडिया वर्सेस न्यूजीलैंड। इंडिया 9 आउट ऑफ 9। सो हजम हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा वो एक बात करेंगे और तीसरा इंडिया वर्सेस न्यूजीलैंड का प्रीव्यू कर लेंगे। ठीक है जी। सो पहला क्वेश्चन जाता है हमारे इमरान ताहिर को मिलके आए हुए मिस्टर अभिजीत दास पटनायक को कि मुझे ये बताओ यार आप करेक्ट टाइम पे करेक्ट जगह पे कैसे रहते हो। पहले ये मत बता दो। सवाल तो मैं पूछता ही रहूंगा। ऐसे कैसे ऑटो
इट
ऑटो
इज
के साथ आप मिल गए आप इमरान ताहिर को।
इट इज ऑल थैंक्स टू फ्रेंड्स लाइक यू ऑल जो मुझे चढ़ा के रखे थे कोलंबो वाले मैच के बाद कि बॉस तू लकी चार में भास्कर आई रिमेंबर दैट डे वाज टेलिंग इन माय कॉलेज ग्रुप कि बॉस वी शुड फंड टिकट्स फॉर हिम सो दैट ही गोज एंड वॉचेस द फाइनल इन द वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल। तो समहाउ सिंस मैं वानखेड़े का पास था मुझे लगा यार सेमीफाइनल 2 दिन बाद है भास्कर नॉट जस्ट भास्कर 3-4 लोग बोलता रहता है यार लकी चाम लगे। मैं एक बार वानखेड़े का चक्कर लगा लेता हूँ जैसे यू नो वी हिंदूज हम टेंपल के बीच में सेंटर आइडल के अराउंड हम चक्कर मैंने कहा मैं एक चक्कर लगा लेता हूँ ताकि कल अगर इंडिया हारे ना आई डोंट ब्लेम माई सेल्फ बिकॉज आई हैव दिस गिल्टी फीलिंग फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम कि बस मैं गया नहीं इसीलिए हुआ। So I was just roaming as my evening walk. I did it, and suddenly this car stopped next to me. Sir, can you help me? तो मैं जैसे ही मुड़ा ना ऐसे this was my first reaction. Hi. He said, आराम से. He said, easy. Then said, I can't find nature's basket. I said, no problem, I'll help you. फिर मैं गूगल में देखा, ड्राइवर को समझा. The driver looked a person who probably does a better job, but was assisting him in riding around. And then, and then I said that, sir, can I, take a picture with you? He said, शुक्रिया. I said, मुझे शुक्रिया नहीं चाहिए, मुझे एक सेल्फी चाहिए. So he came out of the car, the other side, जो darker side जो था, boundary side जो था, he came out. He said कि मैं या इंडिया में प्रॉब्लम है कि अगर मुझे देख लिया ना तो इन नो मिनट्स देयर बी 25-30 पीपल सराउंडिंग। तो बोला सर मैं ग्रोसरी आपके घर तक डिलीवर कर सकता हूँ। बोला उस समय भी प्रॉब्लम है जो डिलीवर करने आएगा 25-50 लोगों को साथ लेके आएगा डिलीवर करने। So that was a great it was a great meeting and I just hope that me touching the Wankhede helps us win the semi-final. It's a big day for us. It's less than 40 hours actually now. We are all awake.
चलिए ठीक है। तो इंडिया वर्सेस न्यूजीलैंड पे हम आखिरी पे जाएंगे। पहला सवाल अब मैं जाता हूँ भास्कर के पास ही जाता हूँ जो हमेशा जैसे तिलमिला उठा रहे हैं मुझसे भी तो पूछ करके। तो 6 टीम्स का एक ये है तो इसको थोड़ा ग्रुप कर सकते हैं। वी कैन ग्रुप श्रीलंका नेदरलैंड्स एंड बांग्लादेश टुगेदर एंड वी कैन ग्रुप इंग्लैंड अफगानिस्तान एंड पाकिस्तान टुगेदर। तो पहला ग्रुप जो है हमारे नेदरलैंड्स श्रीलंका और बांग्लादेश जो सबसे बड़े लूजर्स कहते हैं। बट इस लूजर का सबसे बड़ा विनर नेदरलैंड्स है। हमें मुझे बोलने की जरूरत ही नहीं है कि वो किस तरीके से आए हैं और खेल के जा रहे हैं। और मेरे हिसाब से सबसे बड़े लूजर श्रीलंका है। मुझे पता है कि आप कह रहे थे बांग्लादेश सबसे बड़े लूजर हैं क्योंकि द वे दे प्लेड एंड ऑल, पर श्रीलंका का अभी जिस तरीके से हालत होता जा रहा है वो दर से दर मतलब बिल्कुल ही बदतर पे जा रहे हैं वो लोग। तो भास्कर आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे, जल्दी जल्दी बोलिए ताकि हम मसालेदार
ठीक है।
खबरों पे और जाएंगे।
See, Netherlands cannot be considered a loser. Okay, they made it to the World Cup. That itself was a big achievement, ahead of test-playing nations like Zimbabwe and Ireland
West Indies.
and West Indies, the twice champions West Indies, and the semi-finalist Kenya is nowhere near. So I think Zimbabwe ke liye, Netherlands ke liye, it's a big achievement. So they are not, and they defeated South Africa, and that's a huge achievement for them. And many of if you know the historical connection between those two countries, a lot of South African players who have a Dutch connection who play for Netherlands, like Rudolf van der Merwe, Ryan ten Doeschate in the earlier days. So I think they might look 8th in the table, but I think they have done brilliantly. They have done really well. They even defeated Bangladesh, if I'm right, correct? So I think they have won 2 games. The 2 biggest losers, Afghanistan are a winner. They're not. You can't consider them as losers by any stretch of imagination. They
सर
pushed
वो
every
दूसरे
team.
ग्रुप में आएंगे आएंगे आएंगे,
ठीक है.
अब पहले
No,
इन
no,
तीनों के
मैं क्या
बारे में
बोल रहा हूँ? नहीं, no, you look. The thing is about the grouping itself. You put Bangladesh together according to the points table, right? But the real, I would say, the grouping should be England, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. England, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan, because they are the former world champions. So among the teams that have not qualified, Pak, England, and Bangladesh, Pak, England, and Sri Lanka should be in one group, and Bangladesh, Netherlands, and Afghanistan, who are still like Bangladesh might be a test playing nation for 20 years, but still they are considered as minnows, along with Afghanistan and Netherlands. So I think that's how the grouping should be. So the real, I would say, among the 3 you mentioned, I think the biggest loser is of course Sri Lanka. Bangladesh, they've got test status. We know they got test status almost a decade before they should have actually got it. But they did do well in the 2007 World Cup. We saw them knocking out India in 2007, knocking out England in 2015. So with respect to what they had done earlier, this was a big setback for them. But of course, Sri Lanka, like, they are in dire straits. The team selection was poor, right? Like, starting from team selection itself, leaving out the best available option, the only world-class player they had over the last 10 years, was still carrying on. Angelo Matthews was itself a big mistake, I guess. They got him back, and then it was too late anyway. So I think Sri Lanka's team selection, planning, everything was poor. Rajiv.
मैं तो कहूंगा कि बांग्लादेश उतना ही इक्वली बड़ा लूजर है, क्योंकि वो भाई साहब 99 से आ रहे हैं, अब तक एक सेमीफाइनल, केन्या भी सेमीफाइनल जा चुका है, अफगानिस्तान सेकेंड वर्ल्ड कप में ऑलमोस्ट सेमीफाइनल में वो मैक्सवेल की वजह से नहीं जा पाया, वरना मुझे लगता है कि वो चले ही जाता था। तो ये सब है, बट जो भी है, मतलब अभिजीत मैं आपके पास आता हूँ। ये कह रहे हैं कि इंग्लैंड को ग्रुप कर सकते हैं लूजर में, लेकिन मैं आपको एक छोटा सा स्टैट देना चाहता हूँ कि इंग्लैंड ने क्या किया। दे प्लेड देयर 7th गेम अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया, दे लॉस्ट पे अराउंड 20-25 रन, 20-25 रन से हार गए मैच, बट दे स्टार्टेड टू गेट द टेम्पो ऑफ इट। फर्स्ट दे ऑस्ट्रेलिया को 300 के ऊपर जाने नहीं दिया, ठीक है, उनको 280 में कहीं रोक लिया उन्होंने, और ये खुद 250 ऑल आउट हो गए, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली बैटिंग इश्यूज थे, वो सब था, बट दे गॉट देयर बॉलिंग अ बिट बेटर इंग्लैंड में। और दूसरा, बेन स्टोक्स स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग वेल, ही गॉट अ 50 देयर, ही देन गॉट अ वेरी मेजर century, I think century मारा क्या नेदरलैंड्स के साथ, and then obviously that match winning knock against Pakistan also. So England bloomed late, उनको ये टेम्पो शायद बाद में लेट पता चला क्या है करके, but when they go back home they would at least think कि शायद हमसे फर्स्ट 4-5 गेम्स में हमसे गलती हो गई, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं था कि हम इतने बुरे हैं करके। ये मेरा सोच है इंग्लैंड के लिए। अगर वो पाकिस्तान वाला मैच हार जाते तो बहुत ही डिसअपॉइंटेड वापस जाते, बट ऐसा नहीं हुआ। सो द लास्ट 3 गेम्स दे हैड इट इन देयर हैंड, एंड देन श्रीलंका, आई डोंट नीड टू स्पीक, बोल दिया डायर स्ट्रेट्स, बोल दिया क्या क्या बोल दिया भास्कर को भी। तो आप इस पूरे ग्रुपिंग को कैसे देखते हैं, मतलब हाउ डू यू
see England Just give me one moment. You say England bloomed late, but in a World Cup, going into a World Cup, you cannot lose to Afghanistan. You can't lose to Sri Lanka if you want to really, the kind of Sri Lanka you met. So that's where I think England, if they had lost only to the first game and they had lost to India, South Africa, it was okay. But they lost to Afghanistan and they lost to Sri Lanka. These 2 losses really hurt them bad. Rajiv. Yeah,
या
for two, you can continue.
डेफिनेट नहीं मैं मानता हूँ सब। मैं यही कह रहा हूँ कि एटलीस्ट जाते समय कुछ तो दे हैव
हाँ,
समथिंग टू कैरी बैक, दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग। अभिजीत
yeah,
आप
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, considering England में जितना hype था, I know it was on the test matches side and all. Lot was expected from England, and but if you see England's track record, they didn't qualify in the semi-finals for last decade. They didn't qualify in any of the semi-finals last decade. I think 2007, I think they qualified for the semi-finals. Else in this century, they have just one semi-final to show, and 2019 where they eventually they got the trophy. They didn't really win the final, but they got the trophy because of the rules. So apart from that home domination in 2019, there's not much which England can show in the ODI circuit. ऐसा नहीं कि they did very well in World Cups and all that. Their bowling is a problem. I think whatever their curve has happened in Test matches as well as white ball cricket and all, they, their batting is improving every other day. It's improving, but their bowling is going off even in Test matches with the two Anderson and Broad retiring. Their bowling is going to suffer big time. Similarly, in ODIs, their bowling is nothing actually. So there was virtually no threat. And if they've started winning towards the end, it's actually meaningless for me because kya hota towards the end, many teams slack off a bit. For example, India. India had virtually qualified for the semi-finals by the time they played the fourth or fifth match. So uske baad teams will take one gear down. वो fifth gear में नहीं खेलेंगे जितना वो शुरू में कर रहे थे. So that would not happen. So that way, so England were a big disappointment. I think rest I agree. Sri Lanka at least have some excuses. Hasaranga, their star all-rounder was absent. Lahiru Kumara, their pacer was injured. He missed initial few games. So they had few injuries, but Bangladesh has no excuses at all. And Bangladesh ka their golden generation, they've actually achieved nothing apart from eliminating India in one tournament and that Nagin dance which they did sometime between, and England in another tournament. I think Bangladesh golden generation has done nothing. Netherlands one is very creditable. I remember prior to the World Cup, Netherlands were begging every cricket board for matches, and none of the cricket board has agreed. After they qualified through the qualification process, they got nothing, no matches to play. Till BCCI agreed, the Karnataka State Association के साथ, some Karnataka A or B team के साथ, they got 2-3 matches. इनका कुछ भी नहीं practice था. That's very creditable. Afghanistan should have done better. I would say Afghanistan was a bit disappointment for me. Not just the Maxwell innings, losing to Bangladesh in the first game was not done. And they had a lot of things going. This is happening in the subcontinent. आपका बहुत कम वर्ल्ड कप सबकॉन्टिनेंट होगा जब आपका गोल्डन जनरेशन ऑफ प्लेयर्स, which Afghanistan had. Second is they had home support. They had terrific home support. I don't think they cashed on that. If they had beaten Bangladesh, if they had taken out Maxwell early, a semi-final spot was literally waiting for them. So I would say there are positives, but it's not too much to be happy about of these teams which we discussed. Rajiv.
यार अच्छा हुआ ना आप मेरे जिंदगी में मेरे बॉस नहीं होंगे, ना ही थे। मतलब इतना क्रिटिसिज्म बनता ही नहीं है किसी का। अफगानिस्तान को कह रहे हो कि डिसअपॉइंट होके जाना चाहिए, अरे क्या थोड़ा तो मतलब ख्याल रखो भाई। मतलब सारे टीम्स तो सेमीफाइनल नहीं जाएगा ना। ठीक है, मतलब मैं यही कहूंगा कि मेरे हिसाब से, मैं देखो इंग्लैंड तो डेफिनेटली, आप एक डिफेंडिंग चैंपियन हो, आप वापस सेमीफाइनल भी नहीं पहुंचते। एंड भास्कर हैड मेंशन दिस बिफोर आल्सो, राइट? है खेलते 7-8 ही मेन लोग हैं, उसमें भी आप टॉप 4 में नहीं आ सकते तो फिर फायदा क्या है करके। सो ठीक है, मतलब तो वो डिसअपॉइंटमेंट्स तो रहेगा ही रहेगा। और बात किया जाए नेदरलैंड्स, वेल डन। एंड आई थिंक नाउ बोथ विल आस्क देम कि आ जाओ यार थोड़ा खेल लो, कोई नहीं, कोई इश्यू नहीं है करके। सो आई थिंक दीज आर ऑल। इनफैक्ट अमित कह रहे थे कि नेदरलैंड्स के कोच का नाम है रायन कुक, regarded to be a coach, very very good coach, understanding a game का how to motivate players and all. अफगानिस्तान के साथ भी I think Jonathan Trott did a very good job. Very smartly they got Ajay Jadeja, who gave them local information and how to play in these conditions. I think ODI क्रिकेट को समझाया कि एशिया कप अफगानिस्तान का बहुत बुरा गया, लेकिन वो आके यहाँ पे दे चेंज अराउंड एवरीथिंग, सो दे डिड वेल। बट आई थिंक दैट मैक्सवेल का इनिंग्स ने तोड़ दिया। और आई एग्री विथ यू, बांग्लादेश के साथ हारना नहीं चाहिए था, बट बिकॉज इट वाज द फर्स्ट मैच एंड ऑल, आई थिंक दे जस्ट लॉस्ट टीम समवेयर। बट एनीवेज आते हैं हमारे सबसे प्रिय जन टीम, जिसने मतलब जो पिछले कई सालों से कहता है कि हम नंबर 1 है, इसमें नंबर 1, उसमें बाबर नंबर 1, शाहीन अफरीदी नंबर 1, लेकिन शाहीन अफरीदी और भाई साहब हारिस रऊफ ने मिलके 1000 रन ठुकवा दिए अपने 9 मैचों में। आके ना विकेट लिया, और स्पिनर तो भाई साहब जुबान अल्लाह कहना चाहिए, ऐसा जबरदस्त स्पिनिंग कॉम्बिनेशन रखा। इफ्तिकार अहमद उनका बेस्ट स्पिनर रहा पाकिस्तान के लिए। तो ये तो हालत थी पाकिस्तान की। तो आप क्या कहेंगे भास्कर, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ कि सब कॉन्टिनेंट में है, इसके बाद भी ये चार टॉप 4 में भी नहीं आ सकते क्या पाकिस्तान?
वही कह रहा हूं मैं कि गोइंग बैक अफगानिस्तान ने फिर भी, अगर मुझे नहीं लगता सेमीफाइनल पहुंच सकते थे, क्योंकि न्यूजीलैंड स्टिल हैड द अपर हैंड। दे वुड हैव, आई डोंट थिंक अफगानिस्तान अगर मैक्सवेल का इनिंग्स खेलता भी, दे दे ट्राइड देयर बेस्ट अगेंस्ट साउथ अफ्रीका। इट्स नॉट दैट they had dropped their shoulders, so they would have lost that game against South Africa, and New Zealand would have qualified anyway. So the two biggest teams that will be the most disappointed are Pakistan and England, because they are the ones, they are former world champions. They are like, historically they have been the uh, among the top teams in world cricket, isn't it? Sri Lanka bhi to baad mein aaya hai, but Pakistan and England historically have been top teams since the 60s and 70s, with all the greats they've had over the years. So the two biggest the teams that will go back very, very disappointed are Pakistan and England, because they didn't even look like reaching the semifinals. Always it was always on net run rate. It was not like they had. Usually what used to happen is all these top teams used to defeat all the minnows, and then it used to come down to one or two upsets used to happen, but most of it used to come down to head against top teams. So अब यहाँ पर क्या हुआ कि Pakistan lost to Afghanistan, England lost to Afghanistan, both teams lost to Afghanistan, and they England lost to Sri Lanka. So these are the teams, these are the games that really set them back. New Zealand, if you see, they did not defeat any big team, that, like, isn't it? They made sure that they don't lose to any of these minnows. They won all against those minnows, and they just won one game against England initially and one against Sri Lanka, former champions. So I think these two games helped them get through or get over the line by just defeating Afghanistan, Netherlands, and Bangladesh, who are still minnows in international cricket. And then England and Sri Lanka, two big wins. Of course, Sri Lanka is down in the dumps. So if you see Netherlands, New Zealand has one big victory, which they had against the defending world champions, against England. But for that, they've just won, and they lost to India, they lost to South Africa, they lost to Pakistan. They lost to Pakistan and they lost to Australia as well. So they've had 4 big losses. So if you see in that sense, make sure you don't lose to the minnows, and then you win a few games, you're up there. So I still believe England and Pakistan are the two teams that will go back very, very disappointed, because they have huge following in their countries. They have the money also. So to say that Pakistan is poor is not done. They've got a lot of following in their country. They have PSL. So Pakistan cricket is not in that bad shape. So it's just that Pakistan, and we watch a lot of Pakistan discussions, because as you know, though we have those political issues, we love the Pakistani cricketers, especially Wasim Akram. Probably is one of the most loved cricketers have seen in the history of Indian cricket. In India, mein agar non-Indian players, I think I can think of Vivian Richards, and the second is Wasim Akram, who are absolute superstars in India. So I think Pakistan and England would be the two disappointed teams. So that's what I would think. Rajiv.
नहीं, सही बात है। मैं तो पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट इसके लिए भी देखता हूँ कि जो रोस्ट एक पाकिस्तानी खुद को करता है ना, वो भाई साहब कोई नहीं कर सकता। तो वो एंटरटेनमेंट वो अलग लेवल एंटरटेनमेंट है। लेकिन अभिजीत, आप क्या कहेंगे पाकिस्तान का? मतलब अब वो जाएंगे क्या आज मॉर्कल ने पेपर डाउन कर दिया, मतलब ही इज पुट इन हिज पेपर्स, और भी कर लेंगे। मिकी आर्थर उनका मतलब वर्क फ्रॉम होम कोच का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है यही लेके आए। तो आप क्या सोचते हैं? मतलब वर्क फ्रॉम होम किया है
they
उसने
were,
मिकी आर्थर ने।
I mean, they're a big disappointment. You know, when the World Cup is being held in Asia, you expect the Asian teams to, step up the next level. You know? That's where मुझे लगा कि Afghanistan was sad in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka were all spinning pitches and they have the best spin attack around, and they didn't do much there. Of course, they learn a lot from this entire tournament. But Pakistan, I don't think they have anything to learn for the tournament. In fact, from the second game itself, from the third game actually, when they lost to India, their body language was very down. Although they had won 2 games, they just lost one game to India. Immediately bola कि the crowd, we felt that it was not an ICC tournament. They came up with the weirdest of excuses जो आज तक कभी सुनाई नहीं दिया. So I felt they were probably losing the plot there. I always felt since the last 2 years I have been saying Pakistan are 2.5 bowler and 2.5 batsman team. Somehow in T20 some of these flaws get, क्योंकि आपका बॉलर को लिमिटेड ओवर्स ही मिलता है, तो काफी सारे फ्लॉज छुप जाते हैं. Here it was all laid bare open. I don't know how much that Virat Kohli innings at Melbourne has had an effect on their bowling attack, because Haris Rauf and Nawaz Sharif are, sorry, not Nawaz Sharif, Mohammad Nawaz are no more the bowlers who they were before that game. अगर आप विराट कोहली वाला एमसीजी innings के पहले, these two were pretty effective bowlers. Haris Rauf was a star bowler. But today, this World Cup, when I saw them, or when I saw them in the Sri Lanka tournament, Asia Cup, I just couldn't identify both of them. In fact, Mohammad Nawaz is not even in the team. He's not even a regular starter also now. So Pakistan is very disappointed. They still have a decent batting lineup. But yeah, I think they will be more and more exposed as they travel to in England and Australia. इनके tours अभी बढ़ने वाले हैं. They will get more and more exposed. So far, they were hardly playing in all these countries. Going to England for a test series, going to Australia for a test series. ये सब हो जाता है, सब बराबर हो जाता है. ये सब जो
I
जितना
think
भी आप बैसबॉल बोलो, बैसबॉल एक बार ऑस्ट्रेलिया पहुंचेगा तो बॉल अलग और बैस अलग हो जाएगा.
नहीं, इंग्लैंड का वो बात तो पक्की बात है कि ये डिस्कशन पे आएगा कि अगर स्टुअर्ट ब्रॉड और जिमी एंडरसन नहीं खेलेंगे तो कौन बॉलिंग करेगा भाई उन लोगों के लिए.
कौन बॉलिंग करेगा? ऑफ
घर
कोर्स
घर घर पे ही नहीं जीत पाएगा फिर. खैर
घर
वो
पे
तो
भी नहीं
देखेंगे.
जीत. एब्सोल्युटली.
हाँ, हाँ. खैर पाकिस्तान तो चलो जो हो गया सो हो गया, इसके बारे में बात करेंगे. बहुत कुछ है बोलने के लिए तो खैर, लेकिन आते हैं मुद्दे पे, क्योंकि हमें तो आगे देखना है ना. तो उस पे ये है कि इंडिया वर्सेस न्यूजीलैंड है. मैं एक चीज बोलूंगा, आप दोनों चिढ़ जाओगे, लेकिन बोल लेता हूँ क्योंकि लोगों का सेंटिमेंट ऐसा है. तो मेरा काम है लोगों का सेंटिमेंट बाहर रखना. वो ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई 9 में से 9 गेम तो जीत गए. मुझे हजार पहले तो नजर का बिंदु लगना चाहिए था, एक गेम हारना चाहिए करके सबको लगता है, जो मैं एग्री नहीं करता, लेकिन कह रहे हैं लोग. दूसरा, इंडिया न्यूजीलैंड के साथ हार जाएगा करके डर लगता है, क्योंकि लास्ट 2-3 टाइम्स में आईसीसी टूर्नामेंट्स में हारे हैं न्यूजीलैंड के साथ. ये भी मैं एग्री नहीं करता, क्योंकि न्यूजीलैंड 2.5 बॉलर 2.5 बॉलर्स प्रेजेंट है. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि बेस्ट ऑफ फॉर्म में है, 2.5 बॉलर ही है उनके पास. बाकी 2.5 बॉलर वो बस डालते हैं, बॉल पहुंचाते हैं. देखिए एंश्योर सऊदी का बॉलिंग ऐसा है कि बॉल स्टंप पे पहुंच रहा है उसका, बस उतना ही है. फर्ग्यूसन कब इंजर है कब नहीं है कुछ नहीं पता. ट्रेंट बोल्ट फॉर्म में आ चुका है, सैंटनर अच्छा बॉलिंग कर रहा है, कोई डाउट नहीं है उसमें. तो भास्कर आपके पास आता हूँ, डरना चाहिए या फिर जाओ और अच्छा खेलो यार?
डरने की तो जरूरत नहीं है. न्यूजीलैंड historically have not been a very strong team. Okay, they've done well of late, but if you see again, we always used to say they punch above their weight. They are a very good team now. I think this is the best New Zealand team I have seen since the days of Richard Hadley and Martin Crowe. In between, they had a good team during the Chris Keynes era, but they were not a team you need to be really feared. Of late, with the peaking of Trent Bolt and Kane Williamson, they've been brilliant. But I just have a feeling that they're just over the hill now. Trent Bolt, Tim Southee, all the world-class players are just over the hill. We have defeated New Zealand. We defeated them a few weeks back, so we don't really need to worry about it. Australia is something which you historically worry about it because they are so strong a team. If you ask me, which team would you want to meet in the semi-final? A New Zealand or a South Africa or a Australia or a Pakistan or in England? Most of Indians would say New Zealand, because if you see them, they are the one team that have never won a World Cup, apart from South Africa. But South Africa historically were a very strong team. It's due to their mental aspect, that's why they didn't win World Cups. New Zealand used to really scrape through to the semi-finals and maybe reach a finals. Except for the 92 World Cup and probably the 2015 one, they really didn't dominate a World Cup as such. They were always probably the last team to reach, like even the last World Cup, I think they were the 4th in the points table who got into the semi-finals. 2011, again South Africa choked, and because the format was such that you just defeat a few minnows, you get into the quarterfinals. So that's how they had been getting. 2007 was really creditable. They reached the semi-finals then. Abhijit, I would like to correct you. England did not make any semi-finals since 1992. Since 1992, they have made just one semi-final, that is in 2019. In between, they did not make a single semi-final. Till then, they were doing well. 87, 83, 87, 92. They made 3 consecutive, 79, 83, 87 and 92. They had 4 consecutive semi-finals. 79, of course, they reached the semi-finals. And 75 also, they had reached the semi-finals. But after 92, the next semi-final they played was against Australia in 2019. So England had a very, very poor performance in big events in ODI cricket. Of course, we didn't have T20 in those days. So अभी मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इंडिया should just go and dominate. अभी वो मोमेंट पहली बार हम देख रहे हैं कि इंडिया is just willing to blow away. That's what Abhijit, when he saw the final against Sri Lanka, a lot of people were saying paisa vasool nahi hua. I was a bit irked with that statement. How can you say paisa was? An Aussie would never say. He would want to go and pummel the Pommies every 5 test matches. He would want to win 5-0 in 3 days. They won't complain that paisa vasool nahi hua. So I don't really buy that argument. When you are supporting a team, you want your team to perform at the best.
मारने का मन आपका ये स्टेटमेंट में किसी को मारने का मन कर रहा है?
No. So I think India
कर रहा तो बोलो,
dominated the team.
मेरी बीवी ने बोला यार.
No, bowling out an opposition for 50 runs and chasing them with winning with 10 wickets, I would say it's double paisa vasool.
Absolutely.
So I have no complaints if India go and dominate the next 2 games and they just win it easily. That's how Australia used to win. I don't remember Australians complaining ever. Winning 3 World Cups, making 2-3 World Cups boring, winning them easily because they want the team to win. No German would complain that they didn't have a good semi-final against Brazil. They won 7-1. Brazil did not fight. They would be happy that Germany won 7-1. So that's the kind of support we need to have. India needs to go and just dominate. Rajiv.
सही बात है. नहीं, I'm in 100% agreement with you कि भाई आप जीतो, आप मसल दो, जो चटनी बनाना चटनी बनाओ, जो करना करो. क्योंकि सीधी बात तो यही है कि मेलबर्न का वो हाइलाइट्स तो बार बार देख सकते हैं पिछले साल वाला, लेकिन वो मैच वापस नहीं चाहिए भाई किसी और टीम के साथ. वी वांट डोमिनेशन एंड विन. और अगर भास्कर आपको खुन्नस आ रहा है, मेरी बीवी ने यही स्टेटमेंट दिया था, तो यू कैन बी द गेस्ट एंड डू मारो. खैर, एनीवेज, सो अभिजीत आपके पास आता हूँ. एक चीज जो है, आई थिंक न्यूजीलैंड ओनली चांस आई बिलीव इज इफ दे बैट फर्स्ट. बैटिंग करेंगे तो शायद थोड़ा चांस बनता है. उसमें भी इफ इंडिया मतलब कीप्स देम बिलो 280, तो 300 भी वानखेड़े है. बिलो 300 तो भी आई थिंक इंडिया शुड बी विनिंग इट इजीली. इन केस इंडिया बैट्स फर्स्ट, आई थिंक न्यूजीलैंड का एक चांस वो जो रह सके जो है वो भी नहीं रहेगा. तो आप क्या कहेंगे इसके बारे में, इस सेमीफाइनल के बारे में?
Yeah. So I'll actually continue with where you all were discussing is, a true cricket fan of any sporting team would want to thrash the opposition. 7-1 Germany Brazil is a historical thing. We'll never forget 7-1. It will always be mentioned. Similarly, 50 all out, we will be talking about this 50 years down also. That is more important than an ordinary fan who's looking for a masala. मेरे को 8 घंटे का पैसा वसूल चाहिए, एंड तक मुझे 100 ओवर देखना है. That's absolute nonsense. A true cricket fan, I was over the hill over the moon in Colombo. कि मैच भी जल्दी खत्म हुआ, crushed. People forget one thing. When Gill and Ishan opened and chased that 50 odd runs, in half an hour rain started. Rain started very badly the rest of the evening, the entire next day. Had Sri Lanka lasted 80-90 runs, that match is going to be washed out. The trophy would have been shared. People forget these things. So, which I had obviously tweeted also. I mean, posted also. Definitely, I would want India to crush. I think India is going to win both these next 2 matches fairly comfortably. I've had this sense since 2011. 2019 also had a sense. We will be winning the World Cup till Dhawan got injured. The day Dhawan got injured, I actually got very sad because I thought our World Cup is gone in 2019. 2011, I was very confident we'll win through. I have the same confidence today. I have more confidence in this team the way they have won. Out of 5 matches we won, after the 9 matches we won, just 4 opposition have scored more than 200 runs versus us. 2 of them are Bangladesh and I think Netherlands. 1 is New Zealand, 4th team I'm forgetting. Just 4 teams have scored above 200 versus us. Afghanistan. Yeah, so only New Zealand survives out of those 4. So I honestly don't see New Zealand scoring even 280 even if they bat first. Even if they score 280, 2011, Mahela Jayawardene helped score 280. We chase that pretty comprehensively. So I'm not worried. The thing to see is every Indian, what are the semi-final chances? They are saying 2 things. One, first 9 matches jeete hain, law of averages. That is one thing they are saying. Second, they are saying New Zealand is a bogey team. So India का current negatives में सिर्फ यही 2 है. कोई भी नहीं कह रहा कि हमारा ओपनिंग वीक है, हमारा बॉलिंग अटैक वीक है, हमारा मिडिल ऑर्डर में प्रॉब्लम है. Nobody saying, which means our entire team is 100% fine. 100%, it cannot be better. It just can never be better, probably in our history of cricket. Nobody is bothering to see on the New Zealand side. New Zealand side, Convoy hasn't got runs. Rachin Ravindra and this guy Mitchell, they have basically carried New Zealand. Convoy got in very select games. Apart from that, he's not good. Their bowling attack at the start and now is very different. Henry is out. There's one more, Milne, I think, is out. They had to play Nisham and all, who are basically half bowlers. Saudi was almost retired. Unko usko khilana pada. Their bowling attack is in bad shape. Their batting middle order is in bad shape. So I don't even see them scoring 280 versus us. But either ways, I see India having a comfortable win. There are too many chinks in New Zealand's armor. As you said, they are in trouble after the first 3-4 games. Once the pitches changed from the 375 to the 275 pitches, New Zealand's graph was totally dipping down. So we have a great chance. I think we have of the 3 semi-final opponents, you got the preferred one, and we should beat them.
करेक्ट नहीं, सही बात है. कृष्णमाचारी श्रीकांत ने बोला कि चैपमैन आएगा तो उसको चपाती बना के खाएंगे करके. तो अगर आप कृष्णमाचारी श्रीकांत की बातें सुनेंगे तो वो तो मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है कि वो तो न्यूजीलैंड को रोस्ट करके ही छोड़ेगा करके. खैर मुझे भी काफी कॉन्फिडेंस है कि हम जीत सकते हैं आराम से. टॉस इज वाइटल, लेकिन ठीक है, वानखेड़े स्टिल वी कैन मैनेज चेजिंग ऑल्सो. इतना बड़ा इश्यू नहीं है जितना अहमदाबाद में होने वाला है. सो लास्ट वर्ड्स भास्कर, आप क्या चाहते हैं? टॉस बैटिंग ही करेगा जो भी टीम है. अमित ने एक सवाल पूछा था, मैं वो सवाल मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ. 5 लेफ्ट हैंडर है, मुझे आंसर पता है आप क्या देने वाले, फिर भी पूछना मेरा धर्म है, इसलिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि 5 लेफ्ट हैंडर है न्यूजीलैंड की टीम में, क्या अश्विन खेलेगा कि नहीं खेलेगा?
नहीं खेलेगा. And I should not play because we can't drop a fast bowler. Okay, that is very very clear. वो बहुत बड़ा रिस्क हो जाएगा. Without Hardik Pandya, don't even think of going into 2 fast bowlers. We need 3 fast bowlers. Any one day match. And again, if you think of dropping, किसी को ड्रॉप करना है, अगर अश्विन को सच में खिलाना है, तो it has to be रविंद्र जडेजा. And Jadeja is such an integral part, such a superstar that you can't even think of dropping, because number 7, we don't have a batsman without Hardik Pandya. Depth has also gone down. So there is no question of playing Ashwin. We have to play the same team, both games, and we win. Rajiv.
सुपर. 30 सेकंड है, अभिजीत बोलिए और क्लोज कीजिए इस पॉडकास्ट को.
I actually didn't think of this till you mentioned that. I think there is a merit in playing Ashwin in place of Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep got tonked in only one match, that was versus New Zealand only. And Ashwin will definitely add some depth to the batting. Now that you mentioned that they are going to play 5 left-handers, I think there is merit in this discussion.
बट नहीं होगा क्योंकि अभी वुड हैव प्लेड हिम. अगर खेलने का सोचा होता नेदरलैंड्स गेम खेल लेता, तो नहीं खेला तो मतलब नहीं खेलेगा.
नहीं, अगर हार्दिक होता तो जरूर खेलता. I have no doubt about it.
हार्दिक होता तो खेल लेता.
Without Hardik, you can't drop and Kuldeep is right now is reaching that zone where he's been India's best spinner, like along with Jadeja. Of course, Jadeja is too big a player to even think of moving. So I don't think, but you never know. And that to Mumbai. It's Ahmedabad where it will be very, very tempting to play Ashwin because the kind of pitch it is. But again, he has to resist the temptation. And then...
or maybe...
The other option, the other option is probably playing Ashwin in place of Sky and getting maybe Shardul Thakur also to add depth. So Sky or I don't think they should.
No.
मैं options बोल रहा हूँ. मैं options बोल रहा हूँ. But I don't think there should be any change. You go with the same team which played against Netherlands. That's the team that they want to play. I'm sure that's the team they want to play. Mumbai में there's going to be no change. Ahmedabad, looking at the pitch, they might be tempted, and I don't know how they're going to resist the temptation. That's for us to wait and see once we reach Ahmedabad. Rajiv.
चलिए क्लोज करते हैं. थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग बोथ. बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन रहा. एंजॉय. शुभ रात्रि आप लोगों को. बाय बाय.
शुभ रात्रि. जय हिंद.
जय हिंद.